Hey guys, it's Nitro, and today I want to go over a video that Monster Hunter Wilds came out with about a little over a month ago, and actually a month and 1 day ago. And this is the pre-launch community update. So this is all the updates they're making, all the feedback you guys gave them from the beta. Speaking of which, there's gonna be two more betas. The first one being right around the corner, February 6th through the 9th, and another beta tests the 13th through the 16th. So get ready for those. And one thing I want to make clear is I'm not sure if these changes that they're making is going to be applied to the new betas. They didn't really specify that. So one thing we'll have to see though. But let's just jump right into it. This was an hour and a half video. I'm gonna try to condense it as quickly as I can into 10 minutes or whatever, and we'll get through this fast. So performance. They're looking to lower the recommended minimum graphics specs to allow people with lower level hardware to play the game. Performance is an important aspect to them across all platforms. They're considering adding a benchmark tool for players on PC. This will be really nice. I had never played, I'm gonna admit, I've never played a Monster Hunter game ever. I'm really excited for this one. I think I'm gonna try one soon before this next beta, but I've never played one, and I know for me, optimization with games is very important. Especially if you have lower NPC, it could just feel really bad to play if you don't have like a great graphics card, and you don't want to be running around with low FPS and stuff. So hopefully, the game is optimized. You guys have to let me know how the other games are optimized. Impacted weapons, aka hit stop. So they're trying to change the effects of the weapons. They're changing the sound effects, and they want to make all weapons feel really fun and have that like really nice factor. When you slam weapons at the monsters, you get the good sound effects, all that stuff. So in Monster Hunter World, the player feedback was that players with the animations were too slow. In the Monster Hunter Wilds, the first beta, it's interesting that they found that players thought the combat was really floaty and weak, not as impactful. So they're going to be slowing it down, but not too much so that it's going to hit like Monster Hunter World levels. They kind of want to come out with like a middle ground there. Changes to friendly fire have been made, specifically on range weapon types they mentioned. Players will be able to reduce friendly fire damage from a shockproof jewel. They know that players enjoy friendly fire, but they want to make it balanced, especially because players have different skill levels. There's crossplay. They want to make it fun, but not like, want to ruin player experiences in that regard. So it's going to take some fine tuning. Monsters changing areas. So this was a bug or glitch in the open beta. They were moving areas more than intended. They're working on a fix for it. And then the final version should feel more like Monster Hunter World did. They also emphasize that the maps are much bigger than any other Monster Hunter game, so there's more ground to cover. You'll still have travel time and travel distance to do. Players will also be able to use the pop-up camps to fast travel, and you can kind of strategically place those to reduce travel time. So all the weapons have been changed. The weapons that have been changed the most are the Insect Glaive, the Lance, the Switch Axe, and the Sword and Shield. So the Insect Glaive, now the Vaulting Dance returns. This was a move where players can like do a combo in the sky, some aerial combat after vaulting. They have added an offset effect at the beginning of Descending Slash. As some players said that the controls for descending thrusts were too difficult, they had several discussions. They decided to keep it the way it is. They want this ability to feel rewarding when pulled off, which makes sense if it's a really powerful ability. You want it to have impact and make it not easy to use because it's just that as rewarding as if you can like pull off a high damage ability that requires some skill. And then onto the Lance. They're increasing the tool set of things when players use Lance. They had an unintentional effect. The classic Lance moves were responding to monsters, and that kind of just like narrowed down your options, and Lance felt really repetitive. So they brought back the counter thrust. It's resurrected into a new form as charge counter, and you can use this while guarding. Charge counter now allows guarding while charging, and it can be chained into from any other move. So I guess you can like chain this ability with other abilities. Lance players can now use counter attacks. Power guard will now charge to higher levels more quickly, and when used successfully, defending against much more powerful monster attacks. So it looks like it got buffed a little bit in terms of defense. And this playstyle of the lance is kind of wait, guard, and counter the enemy. So it's kind of like that playstyle. And the developer said it'll be, it feels better than ever to play. So we'll have to see how that feels. I've never really played this game, like I said, but Lance players rejoice, I suppose. They've made a lot of changes to Lance. Switch axe also got a lot of changes. The charging up axe mode, releasing sword mode is the same. Players felt it was too difficult to get the axe mode charged up, so the difficulty has been adjusted. I think they actually made it a lot easier to use. So I think switch axe overall has gotten buffed since the first beta. Sword mode has been changed to feel more powerful and more responsive to match that. The full release slasher feel more rewarding. This was buffed as well. So the feedback from the first beta was that players felt it was very difficult to use. So the use of the countering, rising slash and sword mode has been made easier. Overall, I think the vibe I'm getting is that switch axe was nerfed a lot. In terms of difficulty, it's much easier to play, and they even shortened the animation on after using a focus strike. So it should feel more responsive, should be easier to charge up, should feel easier to play. Sword and Shield, the feedback was that the loss of ability to use guard while using rising slash felt bad, so they've reverted this change. Various improvements have been made to feel an attack output, more responsiveness to combos. They improved evasion effectiveness of backstep and slide and swipe. Sword and Shield has gotten buffed, so a lot of buffs, a lot of improvements to responsiveness. Bow has been changed a lot as well. They were balancing the bow with increased attack power and responsiveness of moves such as normal attacks and arc shots, while downing down the power of tracer shots. When targeting a monster with focus strike, multiple wounds are now locked onto one by one with a brief delay, rather than all at once. So that's a pretty big nerf. And then they kind of talked about the philosophy they have with balancing all these weapons. They want each weapon to have its own uniqueness. They don't want a tier list to come out and it's okay, if you're not using, sword and shield, for example, what are you doing? This one's the meta is S tier, bow is D tier. If you're playing bow, you might as well just not play the game. They don't want that. They want each weapon to be relatively balanced, evenly. Obviously, they also want in certain situations this weapon is really good. Compared to this, the same situation, bow might not be good here because you can't get into range or something like that. They also emphasize that they want to buff the lower impactful skills instead of nerfing the really impactful skills, which is, I think, a great philosophy, because when you're playing a game and something's really strong and then it gets nerfed, oh boy, does that feel bad, right? So that's a good philosophy in my opinion, and that's what they've been doing with these beta changes so far. And then overall adjustments to hit detection and lower damage output compared to past Monster Hunter titles. The one thing they have heavily nerfed was the hunting horn. They felt it was too strong as a sub-weapon. Now, in the beta, they didn't say it was bad, but in the full game, they mentioned it was very overpowered. To rebalance it, the melody effect, the buff that you were granted, has been increased to yourself, but it was nerfed to others. So you're going to be buffing yourself, but the buff you give to other people isn't going to be as strong. They also nerfed the duration on this, so the buff won't last as long. So weapon skills. So they changed how the skill system works a little bit in Monster Hunter Wilds. And previous titles, you put your equipment skills have as always in your armor. So now they adjusted that, so you're putting some of these skills in your weapons as well, because they felt like it was too restrictive in previous titles where you kind of just had to use these armor types and other weapon combos to get the skills you wanted. Now players should have way more functionality and variability with what builds they want to use in terms of weapons and armor, because some of the skills are going to be tied to weapons and not armor. Having said that, all their supplementary skills are still going to be attached to your armor. It's going to be a little bit more divided evenly now. So you have more. They want players to have more variability and more options with their builds. One good question was, what happens when armors are upgraded? Do these skills, or when weapons are upgraded, do these skills disappear? The answer was, skills will never disappear from the weapon. from whenever you upgrade within the same weapon tree. All right, now onwards to multiplayer. The feedback were people were confused on how to play with their friends in the beta. There were features available in the beta. Actually, there were features available that aren't in the beta, one of them being private lobbies. So there were some features that were implemented that were never in the beta. So in the full game, it should be a little bit more obvious. Like one being private lobbies. Also, the squad system is returning. This allows squad lobbies to your squad members. There are also features in the beta that weren't really fully understood just because, it's beta. One of them being the link parties and an environmental link feature. The environmental link lets you settle on a state when your whole party and synchronize to a certain zone. And players didn't really understand or get to really use this because in the beta, there's only 2 zones. So, you didn't get to really try it out. In the full game, there's be a lot more zones. It'll make a lot more sense. Interestingly, this multiplayer in Monster Hunter Wilds is the biggest they've ever had in terms of capacity. You can have 100 player lobbies, 16 players max per camp, so it's going to be the biggest it's ever been. They also mentioned you can mute players if someone's being annoying or just there's a lot of chatter going on. And when you're in a party, when you join a party, your chat is going to go from general chat where we see everybody just to party chat. So that way not, overwhelmed with the communication from everybody. HUD changes. The only thing they've mentioned is they're looking at changing weapon sizes. They're still kind of messing around with this. Other than that, the everything is kind of set in stone for the UI. They might make changes post-launch. But that was all the changes that they have made since the first beta. I'm not sure if these are going to apply to the second beta. There have been a lot of weapon changes across the board here. And I've never played a Monster Hunter game, like I said. I'm going to be playing this beta like crazy, though. I'm looking forward to playing it and trying it out. It seems to be a really hype title going into the new year. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you played the first beta, what felt good, what felt bad. I'm really curious to see if these patch notes kind of affect or kind of match what people have been saying, on the first beta. All right, guys, I'm going to be coming up with more Monster Hunter videos in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next one.